think it's over now. You're wrong.
All aboard the night train.
It's over, Prime.
This is the siege.
I'm a man of my word.
Hey. Yeah. Dead or alive, consider this home. No killing the vibe in the night watch zone. Xenomorph's hype when the lights come on. Hit like and subscribe and the show might blow. Go viral, no COVID. It's a spiral. Emotions, hand on the Bible. Only go sign on the dopest your vitals. Better tune in, yeah, you know it's vital. From Schwarzenegger to Kane Hodder, Corey G down to Harry Potter. Shit's Sigourney Weaver of the night watch zone. Come with me to the night watch zone.
Well, there are two things a man should never run from, even if they cost him his life.
Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. We're here Tuesday night, ready to hop back into Battleworld. Kills with me, Coriander and Eric, of course. And guys, tonight we're going back to a different age, an age undreamed of. And it's going to be a lot of fun, man. It's good. Yeah, exactly. Wow. For you guys in the chat, first of all, just to say for you guys that are in the chat, thank you so much for coming to hang out with us tonight, where we dive into something a bit different than the norm. Coriander, Kill, we haven't talked about, these particular movies probably in about 2-3 years when we had done a top 10 of our favorite fantasy films. And that in and of itself was just barely touching the surface on what these two movies are. So I'm really glad to be back at it, man. It's been a long time. Yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait.
Right? Real quick, too, in the chat, we got Jason from Backtrack Cinema. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. Brandon's in the chat saying, what's up, everyone? I haven't seen these films, but happy to hang out with y'all. Well, first of all, let me say, I'm glad that you're here to hang out with us. And bro, you got to watch these movies.
Yes, man. Wow.
You got to watch these movies, man. Seriously. We got Val in the chat. Good to see you, Val. Hope you're doing well. All right. I knew Dan would get here. You're all right, Dan. By the power of Crom, this pleases me. There you go. There you go. I love it. I love it. Val has not seen these movies either.
Val, really?
I'm telling
guys,
you.
Oh.
And that's
these are like great movies, man.
Yeah, and let me just say that's one part of the reason why I'm really excited to do this, because I know a lot of people probably haven't seen these movies. First of all, when you're talking about movies from the 80s, there's so many great ones. And these were definitely some great films, and especially all four of us big fans of Arnold and his career. These two films were instrumental in his career. Instrumental. So definitely for you guys, you definitely got to check these out.
You're never too late, because like I said offline, this was only the second time I've ever seen Barbarian. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very, very cool. Russell's in the chat. What's going on, Russell? Good to see
Russell.
you.
Hey.
We got Sir James in the chat. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well.
Hey, James.
We're glad to have you guys join us for a little bit of a different episode here tonight. But as always, we have to find out officially, that is, who we have facing off against each other. And this is another interesting week. Last week we had Al Pacino versus Al Pacino. This week we have Arnold versus Arnold. But Eric, let's start with you. Who do we have in corner number 1, bro?
Okay, well, the thought of getting our lost love back will, it'll cause us to do many things, whether it's fighting cannibals, going to battles with demons made out of mirrors, or even be blind to the fact that someone in our group is plotting to kill us when we're done doing what we need to do. However, lucky for this character, he's got the world's greatest wizard and Grace Jones on his side, of all people. And someday he will find his own kingdom, and he will find his own queen, but he will make sure to do it with a real weapon and not a toothpick. Today we have in this corner Conan the Destroyer.
All right. Nice. Okay. And in the other corner, Coriander, who do we have?
Okay. So between the time when the oceans drank Atlantis and rise of our Battleworld series, there's a warrior named Conan. And when you have to face an enemy like Vader, oh wait, I mean Doom, you know you will be tested beyond a riddle of steel and even death itself after contemplating life on the tree of woe. In this corner, we have Conan the Barbarian. Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
There you go. Hey, I love it. I'm getting hyped up too, Kill.
Very good.
Hey, listen, let's go to Kill's commentary, bro.
Oh,
Let's do
man.
this, man. Tell me what's up, man.
Man, look, I'm still trying to learn the riddle of steel. That's all
Right?
I know. We have talked about these movies like almost our entire lifetime.
Yeah.
These movies are great, and if you're a fan of Arnold, this is required viewing.
Thank you.
This is just pure magic. So this is going to be a fun one, guys. I'm looking forward to this.
It is going to be fun, man. And you're right. We've talked about this since we were little kids, guys. We were watching these movies. I could go.
Were y'all dressed up like them too?
No, we weren't dressed up like them.
Just like when you had your little Chips costume and your big wheels.
We didn't go that far, but you can better believe there were many times that we would I'd grab a plastic bat or a stick and pretend to wave it around. This was before I was doing martial arts even. Yeah, there was a lot of fun, man. But
wrapping paper tubes around Christmas time.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we
did.
we gotta get you some of those animal skinned undies, and I think I know where I can get you some. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Right.
fair enough.
Wow.
Song. No,
Paul is in the chat too. What's going on, Paula? Good to see you. And so, look, guys, you know what time it is. Look, man, I can hear them coming. I can hear the horses, the armies, and Crom himself. Can you hear it?
I hear someone talking about the riddle of steel.
There you go. Yes, you know what it is, don't you, boy? All right. For you guys in the chat, for you guys watching the replay, sit back, relax as we watch Conan versus Conan. You know what time it is.
Contemplate this on the tree of woe.
Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
What is steel compared to the hand that wields it?
Yeah. Good for you.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Look, guys in the chat, we don't get to see these, the reels that Knight creates. Sir, we got to hurry up and finish this podcast because I want to rewatch the movies. Mm-hmm. That was a damn fine reel, and I like how you blended in like the beat.
Yes,
I picked up on that.
Yes,
God damn it, that was good stuff.
Good for you,
man.
Be proud. Thanks. That was one of the best ones so far, dude.
I appreciate that, man. It took a while because I knew I had to get that in there and stuff, man. Thank you so much. When
you got the theme of Conan to mix into the theme of Battleworld, seamlessly, good for you.
You're all right,
man. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I really, really do. This is fun stuff, guys. All right, so I'm all flustered. Okay, so you guys, you know how we're going to do this thing. We are going to compare Conan the Destroyer from 1982 to Conan the Barbarian from Conan the Barbarian from 82 to Conan the Destroyer from 84, category by category. And we will give each movie the point that we think deserves the point. For you guys in the chat, you can also let us know what you think. And if you decide to do a super chat, we will make sure to get to your comment, but also that super chat will go towards that particular movie. So if you do a $2 super chat, it's 2 points to that particular movie. So and Melissa's in the chat. What's going on, Melissa? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. All right. And Sir James, hey man, thanks. And the reel was awesome. Hey, thank you so much, man. Right? I appreciate that.
Yeah.
$2 chat. We appreciate it, man. It was a lot of fun to do, man. I can tell you, it took a couple hours to do. So we definitely we have fun with this type of stuff. Brandon saying, if we do more fantasy battle worlds, I hope we can do Never Ending Story versus The Princess Bride. Ooh. That's an interesting one.
Write that one down.
Ooh, yeah. And also, Brandon, leave a comment in the comment section about that as well. Because just to make sure that we keep that, but we're gonna write it down too. That's a good one. I like that.
I got it.
Cool. All right. Okay, guys. We're gonna start this thing off. Eric, we're gonna go category by category. And the first category, as always, is the poster. Okay, so let's just take our time with this. Let's pull up the posters. We've got Conan the Destroyer, and then of course we have Conan the Barbarian. Okay, bro, what are your thoughts and who gets the point?
This one's very easy for me. I'm going with the Barbarian. We kind of mentioned it last week with, at least I did with Scarface. Too much text for that poster. The Destroyer has too much text in that. That notwithstanding, even if you take that out, this is just kind of Destroyer is just kind of generic. Let's put the characters here, even though Arnold looks badass. The Barbarian looks like it's straight out of one of those pulp novels that Conan's came from. You know what I mean? And the text is very small, but it's right there. And then the red fire behind him in Valeria is just awesome. So it's like a perfect swords and sorcery type poster.
All right. Okay. Kill, how about you?
We're starting Easy Street very early. I don't like a lot of words on my poster. And I am a fan of the classic Robert Howard Conan the Barbarian books. And this poster is clearly just an old school cover of that they kind of redid with Arnold, and it's badass. I mean, you got the gleam on the sword.
I was just gonna say that, damn it.
Oh, I'm sorry. You got the fire in the background. You got Valerio on there. I mean, this poster kicks ass. And I used to own this poster, so I'm biased. So
there you go. There you go. Okay, Coriander, how about you?
Yeah, I like, the Barbarian also. I love, like, how Killian said, how that sword is shining and they're in such a dark, dreary place. And yet, there's hope. So it's like, yeah, it's a great friggin' poster. So, yeah.
All right. All right. Real quick, too, just to jump to the chat. Dan's going with the Barbarian. Russell saying rest in peace to Andre the Giant. Absolutely. Yep. And Andre had an uncredited role in the Destroyer as Dagoth. So yeah, definitely Andre is a legend. Brandon going with the Barbarian. All right. Let's see. Brandon saying I can see what National Lampoon's Vacation was referencing with Conan's poster. Yes, absolutely. No doubt about it. For me, first of all, let me just say this. I love both of these posters. Okay. And they're doing two different things, because obviously with Conan the Barbarian, Arnold was not the name that he became, by the time the Destroyer came out. Right. That's number one. But it's also two different ways to do it. Like you were saying, Kill, this is very much a reference to the comics, which is awesome, and whereas when you have the Destroyer is much more of, okay, we're going to put Arnold front and center, and we're going to just kind of let that be the big part of it. And you still do have, kind of like the other characters animated in the back. And I will say this, though, it's great that he's on the cover and the sword is just so prominent, Like it looks really cool. That
it's bigger
being
than the
said,
border, the sword. That's what I
it
like.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really stands out. That being said, I got to be real, and I got to go with Conan the Barbarian. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just saying. It's just classic, you know, and it's just amazing. It truly is. So my point will go to Conan the Barbarian. Okay, real quick. Paula was saying has to be the OG Conan. Okay, good deal. Sir James coming in, $5 super chat saying Conan the Barbarian poster is simple like the Dragon Slayer poster. That was a good poster too, man. All right, so we have 5 points to Conan the Barbarian. All right, man, we're starting off early. Thank you so much, man. We really appreciate the support and the super chat. Seriously. Russell saying he has both on DVD. Man, yeah, same here. I got a DVD. I got it streaming. I got it. I've got multiple copies of them, man. They're just that good. They really are. Val reminding folks, and it's very true. If you haven't hit the like button, please do. It helps to support this stream so that hopefully this can get out to more people, especially people that do know a little bit or maybe even a lot about the Conan films. More people should know about them. They really should. Okay. All right. So let's go to our next category, Eric. We're going to be talking about the tagline. The tagline. So for Conan the Destroyer, we have the most powerful legend of all is back in a new adventure. And with the Barbarian, we have thief, warrior, gladiator, king. What do you think, man?
Again, this is too easy. We're going with Barbarian. The Destroyer is fine, but it's very generic. Okay. This one for Barbarian pumps you up with just 4 simple words, and the fact that the words get more and more badass as they go along, and they end with king. You know, need I say more?
Yes. All right. Very cool. How about you, Kill?
Look, I love simplicity, and I love badass words like thief, warrior, gladiator, king. This is once again we're doing Easy Street back to back. Okay, great. I like Easy Street. I got to go Conan the Barbarian.
All right. Okay. How about you, Coriander?
Could you read the other one again?
Sure. The other one says the most powerful legend of all is back in a new adventure.
I mean, that's not bad.
Well, no,
you know,
not at all.
Dang. I guess I'll go with Barbarian.
Okay. All right. You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. For me, it is kind of close because, and just to give some backstory, the Destroyer, obviously I had seen the Destroyer more growing up, and that's partly because it's PG-13. So for me, that poster was really a big thing, you know, and the fact, and of course, being a fan of Arnold, especially growing up, I connected to it more so because he's so prominent on the poster with the sword. So that tagline is awesome, but I gotta agree with you guys. I gotta go with the Barbarian because it's just so simple, but yet powerful. You know what I mean? Those 4 words, it just hits you, man. And everything about it just goes to show that this poster from A to Z is just top tier, even though I love the Destroyer poster. I truly do. And even the tagline, you know, the most powerful. And it's like, wow, that's cool. I love it. So, but my point will go to Conan the Barbarian. Okay, real quick, just to jump back to the chat. We got Melissa saying she's going with Barbarian. All right. Dan also going with Barbarian. Dan says you got to hit the like button or it's the wheel of pain. That's right. For years you'll be on that wheel. That's right. D's in the chat. What's up, D? Good to see you. Saying what's good, everyone. I'm going with the Barbarian for the poster and tagline. All right. Jack's in the chat. What's going on, Jack? Good to see you. Saying one day I'll make it on the panel for the versus panels one day. Okay, man. All right. Thanks for being here, though. We appreciate you, man. Seriously. Sir James coming in with a $5 super chat saying Conan the Barbarian. It's hard because the taglines in the 70s and the 80s were awesome. I agree. There were some great taglines in the 70s and 80s. That was a big part of what sold the movie. Whereas now it's just a forgotten thing with posters and for taglines, you know. But thank you so much, man. We really appreciate you coming in with the super chat to help support the channel. We really appreciate that as well. Helps us to do more streams like this. And yeah, let's do a quick one for you here. Here we go.
Wide, happy ear to ear, Kool-Aid smile, 'cause the biggest smile is a Kool-Aid smile.
What? The look on Eric's face was like, wait a minute, where are we at?
That's a good one.
Yeah. All
Never know
right.
what to expect.
You don't, and that's the beauty of it.
Yep.
Let's see what else we got. We got Jamie's in the chat. What's going on, Jamie? All right, good to see you.
Hey, Jamie.
Very good to see you. Saying she loves the Barbarian poster. All right. Yeah, it's a good one, man. It really, really
It
is.
is.
Brandon says,
The longer you leave
yeah.
it up there, the more it makes me want it, you know?
Yeah, bro, it's a great one.
So
It's a
maybe
really,
you should
really
like
cool one.
flip it. Don't you have another?
Well, we're going to the next category in a second, anyways.
All right.
Oh man, Jackson, this new operating system update doesn't let me do super chats. Wow. Oh, that's too bad, man. Well, hopefully it gets fixed, man. Thank you so much though for being here. We appreciate it. And D enjoyed the clip. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. Okay, guys, let's go to our next category. Next category, Eric, is the opening of the movie. So let's proceed with caution here. So, you know, basically when we talk about the opening, we're talking about the first couple minutes of the movie. You know, we try not to go too far into the film, but let's just see what you guys got.
I figured we would go with when the village is attacked in Barbarian, and then when Conan and Malik are attacked.
Yeah, by Taramis.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm actually going to go with Destroyer in this, and here's why.
There you go.
As much as I enjoy the one in Barbarian and seeing how bad that army destroys Conan's village and his family is taken out, James Earl Jones. The reason why I like Destroyer is we actually get to see Conan in action. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We get to see why he is this great barbarian, you know, and it's, you know, for a PG movie, it's still pretty violent. We're getting the slashes. We are getting blood splatter, stuff like that. But you know what I really like is I like Tracy Walter. You know, he is a little bit of, you know, of a fraidy cat, hiding and swallowing the diamonds and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's just so entertaining. So I got to go with Destroyer.
You know, can I say one thing real quick? And you said it perfectly. I was going to say that too. Tracy Walter, he added some charm, you know, to this whole thing. Like, because don't get me wrong, I love everything about both of these movies, and everyone's a badass. But everyone can't always be a badass, right? You got to have a little bit of realism in there. Somebody's got to be the, you know, the snake in the dark. You know, if you turn your back, then I'm going to double stab you. You know, but other than that, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not going to engage. I'm a good thief. But I'm not always going to be engaging. So that's a great point, man. Well said. Kill, how about you?
So, okay, quick question. How far into the opening are we talking about for both of these movies?
Well, I think, you know, like Eric said, I think, you know, we're basically talking about for the Barbarian once Thulsa Doom, you know, comes and raids the village. And then, of course, the opening for the Destroyers when he meets Queen Taramis, you know, and deals with the, you know, he fights in the that open mountain area.
So essentially for Barbarian, we're talking about like the scene where his dad is talking to him and about the riddle of steel and once again, this is an easy street for me. I'm going with Barbarian. And I agree with everything Eric said. You do actually get to see him, but it's just something about the buildup in Barbarian that just tantalizes me. and just seeing this giant of a man talk to this little boy who, oh, that's eventually going to grow up. That kid is going to grow up and be Conan. And he's telling them about their religion as far as the riddle of steel, their god. You know, Crumb is down below. He's below us. And he's, you know, going to Valhalla, and just kind of the warrior culture that they believe in and worshiping steel. All of that. And then, of course, seeing the whole village being obliterated, and Conan's mom kind of doing that final last stand, and how classy it is how they show her untimely death. They did it in a very interesting way of showing it but not showing it, but you know what happened. And to see James Earl Jones is scary and otherworldly. So yeah, put all that together for me. I get to see the future of what this kid is going to become. I get to see this villain who's big, larger than life. Yeah, I got to go with Barbarian.
All right. How about you, Coriander?
I mean, yeah, Killian said it all. And not only that, but Doom is like rocking the Courtney Cox bangs. So I have to go with Conan.
God.
Don't forget the blue eyes.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Well,
so
he's
you
a snake, right? He's a serpent. So
you're going with Conan the Barbarian.
Yes.
Okay. All right. For me, you know, I think both of these openings are really, really good, and they're very different from each other. That being said, where you have, you know, you were right, Kill, you have the buildup in the Barbarian, you know, as far as kind of the background, you know, the parents and the warrior mentality and all of that. And of course, in the Destroyer, you see him, you already know, you know, who he is. But to be quite honest, and this will come to play later on in some of these categories a little bit, not to give it away, but, you know, with the Destroyer right off the bat, you know, he's elevated, in my opinion, as far as he's ready to rock and roll. And, you know, he wasn't always unleashed like that in the first movie. So I got to go with the Destroyer on this, because, bro, it had to be at least 10 of those guards coming at him. He was just taking people out. And you're right, Eric, even though it's PG-13, or, well, this was before PG-13, but it basically is PG-13. It still had the cuts. He was cutting people, slicing them. You saw the blood squirts and all of that. So especially as a little kid, but even rewatching this, man, you get going right off the bat. Not to mention the fact that, and we haven't even talked about, in my opinion, the great Sarah Douglas playing Queen Taramis, who always, I mean, shout out to Superman too. You know, shout out to V. Once she took off that helmet, I'll never forget when I first saw that. It was just like, oh crap, you know, because I knew her face.
Superman.
It's not to discredit James Earl Jones, because he's the GOAT, you know, and that was great in a different way, right? But I think the defining factor for me was the fact that Conan was unleashed in that opening for the Destroyer and just taking fools out. So I'm gonna go with Conan the Destroyer on this one. Real quick too, Jack was saying, truthfully, I don't remember watching either of these, but didn't Red Sonja come from this? It did. And let me just say this again for all you guys that are jumping in. First of all, please hit the like button if you haven't already. But you guys have got to see these movies. If you're a fan of Arnold, if you're a fan of action or adventure or fantasy, if you're a fan of the 80s, and basically it is a time from long ago, even in filmmaking, you gotta watch these. You really do. D is going with the Destroyer. All right. Jamie's going with the Barbarian. Okay. Danielle's in the chat. All right. Good to see you, Danielle, saying, I don't know how to decide. Both were great for what they were. Agreed. They're both really good. Melissa's not a fan of either. Okay. All right. Wow. Okay.
All right.
Glad you're here. Jamie says, rocking the Courtney Cox bangs. That's brilliant. That's right. That's right. That's right. William Smith. Dan, he's yelling at the screen. I can hear him. All right. So let's go to our next category. Now, this, to me, this will be interesting. Let's see what we do with this, Eric. The music. The music. Now, obviously, we know that for both movies, the music was composed by Basil Polidoros, who is a G He's a
Yeah.
legend. Shout out to RoboCop, Starship Troopers, a lot of great movies, man. So, Eric, what do you think?
Oh crap. See, I knew like again, we know what some of these guaranteed categories are, and I knew this one was going to be tough, so I paid extra attention to them, both viewings. I'm gonna go with Destroyer slightly, and here's why. And it's with the opening credits score. You know what I mean? They're both very, very similar.
Right.
Barbarians, you know, they have that same score. Barbarians a little slower. You know what I mean? It got that build up. But Destroyer is full on boom in your face. And what I like is, as great as it is, they play that a lot during the battle scene. So it helps me get pumped up during those battle scenes. And like I said, a lot of times with where the music is placed in the movie is what will sometimes determine my choice. I think it's used better in Destroyer slightly over Barbarian.
Okay. All right. Well said. How about you, Kill?
Just like Eric, I knew this was going to be one of the guaranteed questions, and there's no lying here. When that sword is being created at the beginning of Barbarian, and they hit it, and you hear that, it's like, oh man, that hits different. I gotta go with Barbarian because that music is just iconic. Whether it's him and the rest of his crew in a tavern getting shit-faced drunk, like the music is just still there in the background, and they drink. And when you win so much, you get bored with winning, but my master drank. And you hear the tones in the background, and then the battle scenes, or just subtle scenes of him learning about the riddle of steel from his father. I got to go with Barbarian, like hands down.
Okay. All right. How about you, Coriander?
Yeah, Barbarian, definitely. I mean, for me, I think the music was played a lot more in the movie than versus the other one. Just, I don't know, like that scene when he's going through, like when he first gets to the fighting, where he's fighting his way to freedom, right? All that's playing through all those awesome battles is music. And for me, I don't know, it was obviously real that both of those movies have awesome music, but for me, the music was more prominent in Barbarian. So I have to go with that one.
All right. For me, this is probably the toughest category, at least one of them, because I think the music in both are amazing. And they have specific scenes, and even in the intro, I played some of those scenes, and I think there's some great moments in both. You're right, Kill. The opening of Barbarian is just so iconic. That was the first time, and it's so powerful. But Eric, you make a great point too, because Barbarian is powerful, but it's a little bit slower, and I think Destroyer is a little bit more. It's intense, and dun 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 dun. Dude, that song has been playing in my head since last week when we watched these movies.
Same here.
Okay. And so it's no easy question for me. And just look, let me just say, man, and I got the vinyl. Okay. So this is no joke. I love the soundtrack for both of these movies, but I'm gonna give the point to the Destroyer. And the reason I'm gonna do it is, and you made a good point too, Eric, is that theme plays more throughout the movie. Plus, you have a couple of other. I love the scene, and I played it in the intro. And Kill, that scene. I said it to Coriander too. When he gets knocked off the horse, and he's taking his time with the sword, and he does that combination flip, and it's so many good things. So this is just slightly. If you ask me this again 15 seconds from now, I'm probably going to change it. But for right now, in this present moment, I'm going to give the point to Conan the Destroyer. But I do think that prominent theme, dun, 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 I do think that it's a little bit more.
That's kind of like an easy way to get out of it. I mean, Barbarian had a bunch of sure, it had some, it played the same tune at certain points, but it had other music that he developed instead of just
Well, yeah.
your
Well, so did the Destroyer.
Yeah.
you know,
No, but
yeah, but they played well, I get it, but I'm just saying,
yeah.
Well,
you
what I
know,
like,
the
what I
other one
like
was
about
more
the,
creative to
what I
me
like about the main theme that that
instead of
me and
repetitive.
Knight are agreeing on is
Yeah.
it's not just badass and a pump ship. It's like a hero's theme because
Oh,
Yes.
gotcha.
after the horn demon is destroyed, you know what I mean? They play that when when Conan stabs it,
Yes.
and then little ass Tracy Walters,
Yes.
he gets his little lick in, puts his foot up like
Yes.
he killed something in the wild, and as dorky as that character is, you smile when they play that theme when he acts like that's his trophy.
You do.
You know what
And
I
let me
mean?
also say another thing
I
too.
love it.
I've played these songs since I was a little kid, especially anytime I'd be in the gym. This is on heavy rotation. But one of my favorite things about the Destroyer too, and again, I love the Barbarian. This could have easily gone either way. But it also had, like you said, the hero's theme, like even in that specific scene when they fall off the horse, which is so well shot, by the way, too. And then you have that part with it. Doom 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 doom. Yo, it just gets me going, man. I'm telling you. So that's why I'm slightly, and I mean slightly, giving the edge to the Destroyer. But you know, both soundtracks are great, and that's because it's the same composer.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to Basil, who passed away in 2006. We don't have soundtracks like this anymore, man. I mean, and he talked about how when he was composing it, he was trying to make the music timeless because in theory, this was, 10,000 years before medieval times. You know what I'm saying? So he was if you get a chance, check out stuff on him, man, because I sure did in prep for this. Basil Polidorus, man, he was all right. He was all right. And he really brought something special to to two special movies. So, all right. Real quick in the chat, that was a good rant. Dan saying the iconic score when the Danish National Symphony plays it, it's for real. I believe it, man. I truly believe it. Dan's going with the Barbarian for music. D is going with the Destroyer. Paul is going with Barbarian. All right. Val, thank you so much for putting Eric's link in the chat. As always, if you haven't already subscribed to Eric's channel, do so. Please do so. And we have the link in the description for all of our Battleworld episodes and so many more on the channel. So you can't miss it. You cannot miss it. Brandon saying, I haven't seen the 2011 either. If you guys saw that one, what'd you think of it? We were talking about that backstage. It's not bad, but it's not these two. It's not these two. I think
nothing could ever top these two ever. I'm sorry.
Right.
But
yeah. These two have a charm.
I didn't grow up with Barbarian, and I grew up with the Destroyer. So the more air quotes fun and fast type of Conan movie over Barbarian. I liked Momoa. I think that's because maybe I saw the remake first, so I really couldn't compare it. It is what it is. It's not awful. It's a fun swords and sorcery movie. You know what I mean? It is what it is.
Definitely. It's kind of like, and me and Kill talk about this type of stuff a lot, and we'll have to get back into these conversations, Kill. But it's kind of like when we look at like the Total Recall remake. It's great. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's not Paul Verhoeven and Arnold. You know what I'm
True.
saying? There's a same thing with RoboCop and that remake.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a great remake. If it was the only one, it'd be awesome, but you compare it to the originals, there's a certain charm, there was a certain grittiness, there was a certain blood, sweat, and tears to these movies from the 80s. And I know that sounds cliche, but that's just the best way I can explain it. And that's just how I feel.
They're just
about
so good.
They are, man. They really are. Gina's in the chat. Good to see you, Gina. Hope you are doing well. And D is saying totally agree, Night. Talking about the music. Yeah, man. I mean, the music, I love them both, but the Destroyer has that Heroes theme that's so great. Tsunamis is in the chat. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. And again, for you guys, if you haven't hit the like button, please do. It helps to support this stream and get it out to others that can appreciate this conversation. Tsunamis is a big fan of the Barbarian not a fan of the Destroyer. Okay.
Aw.
Big fan of you guys. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to our next category, man. Next category will be the director. So, Eric, you know, and of course, now we have two directors, but the very similar, you know, production and people involved behind the scenes. So for the Barbarian, we have John Milius, and for the Destroyer with Richard Fleischer. So which director do you think you'd give the point to, Eric?
Honestly, I'm going to give it to the Destroyer just because I think there's more going on in it that the director would have to take care of. More action scenes, more horses, more battles. That final scene, you know, with the god, I guess you would say, the horned god. I can't think of its name. And it's no knock to the Barbarian director. I just think there was more that the Destroyer's director had to work with to make a good film. So,
okay, all right. How about you, Kill?
This is tough. I think both directors did a great job. The one reason why I'm going to lean towards John Milius is because the director of Destroyer had more of a template. Milius kind of came in, and unless he and his team used references from like Sinbad the Sailor or the original Hercules from 1950 or things like that, you really didn't have that much of a fantasy template other than taking it from the actual comic book and graphic novels of the time that were the Conan books. But to do what was done in 82 with this, you know, you're taking a chance on Arnold. You're taking a chance on making your villain James Earl Jones and making him look different than an African-American man. And they purposely did things to make him look different and otherworldly, different colored eyes, the long Courtney Cox bangs hair, you know, things of that nature. And just to kind of tackle all the stuff that's going in there, snake cults, the cinematography, you know, all the animals that were on set, just a lot of different things. I do agree with Eric. In Destroyer, it was a lot more things going on, obviously, because it's a sequel. You got to rev it up. You got to put more. We got to have him fighting a demon god in it and things of that nature. But I really want to just give the props to Milius because, you know, for what was done with this movie from 1982 and the charisma of Arnold, it's a masterpiece. So,
all right. Okay. All right. How about you, Coriander?
Yeah, I mean, I have to go with Barbarian also, just because, you know, the whole, like he was talking about the Temple of Doom, that whole scene, you know, and plus before they even get there, you have the snake and, you know, them climbing in and sneaking down the well or whatever the hell, the hole. They had a hole wherever it was. It's going down to, you know, this huge snake that, yeah, I mean, it was just awesome. I thought, not that the directing wasn't good in Destroyer, because both of these movies, they are so good. So yeah, man, it's. But I need to, you know, this is where, because when you love them both, you just got to pick the one that you love the most, right? So that's why I got to go with Conan. So yeah.
All right. Okay. For me, this, you know, it's pretty challenging because again, you know, the directors had some different things going on, but I agree with what you said, Eric, because with the Destroyer, there was so much going on, but not only just that, but you had a bigger cast.
Yes.
Right. And that's a juggling act as well. I mean, you've got a lot of, you got to remember at the time, you know, everyone is more elevated. Arnold's elevated. You bring in Sarah Douglas, who obviously, you know, had a lot of great things going on in her career. You've got Wilt Chamberlain, NBA legend. You've got Grace Jones from the world of music, and you've got to balance all of those things throughout the story with more set pieces, more battles. Obviously, Conan throughout this whole movie is is Conan. You know what I'm saying? We didn't follow him from childhood to being the Barbarian, which, you know, is no knock against the Barbarian. That's just how these movies played out. One had to be an origin story. So I do agree with that there was a lot more to do. That being said, I'm going to go with John Milius for the Barbarian. And one reason why, and it doesn't even have to do necessarily with just what we see on screen, but the process of getting the movie made. You know, there was a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on. Oliver Stone had written a draft for Conan the Barbarian, and Milius kind of reworked it a bit. And Milius also was instrumental not only in Basil's composing, but also in the reworking of some of the scenes, you know, as far as to kind of parallel it to the Conan books. So in other words, what I'm saying is, you know, he did a great job as a director, but he also had a really good vision for that film. Because obviously, if that film didn't do what it did, we wouldn't have gotten the Destroyer. Who knows if we would have gotten the Terminator? Okay, so you think about that. You know, these two movies were really instrumental as far as being on James Cameron's radar, you know, for the Terminator. So I have to give the advantage to John Milius for Conan the Barbarian. Okay. Real quick, let's jump to the chat. Paul is going with Conan the Barbarian, and so is Dan. Dan's going with Milius was a G, old school director of Tough Guys. All right. D is going with Conan the Destroyer. D is holding it down for the Destroyer. Let me tell you what, D, the Destroyer is going to need some help. Keep rocking it out, though, man. Mwamba's in the chat saying the Barbarian is the better. Okay. All right. Let's see. Tsunami saying Milius wrote an amazing script full of quotable lines, philosophical questions. Yeah. He was really, really good behind the scenes. He really, really was. He had a vision, and it came to reality. And again, even for Basil, you know, for the composing and so forth, there were times when they were working on the music, and John Milius would say, okay, this particular music, it's too Christian. We don't want it to be Christian. We want it to be something that was, you know, otherworldly, so to speak, and beyond, you know, beyond the days of the medieval times and so forth. So, yeah, very cool stuff. All right, let's go to our next category. Eric, we're going to talk about the story. Okay, we're going to talk about the story. What do you think, man?
Both are really, really good. You know what? I'm going to pull a Coriander, and I'm going to say I'm a sucker for a love story this time, because I like the Destroyer in this, because he's doing this, as foolish as he is, he's doing this because he thinks he's going to get Valeria back. You know what I mean? Now, Barbarian set up that story wonderfully with those two, but I like that that's what he wants to do. That's why he's doing this. I like how the betrayal of Conan is set up very, very early. You know what I mean? You know, get him to where he needs to go and then take him out, type of thing. And then I love the loyalty that everyone has, you know, in this story. Like, you know, Grace Jones as Zula, she says, you know, I give my life for Conan. We shall see. You know what I mean?
We shall see. I love that.
You believe it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's just, I think it's more entertaining. And again, like I said, you know, this one time I'm a sucker for that love story, you know, when it comes to that, like The Crow, you know what I mean? The lost love, the type of thing. I got to go with Destroyer.
Okay. All right. Kill, how about you?
This is a tough one, because if you ask me tomorrow, I could totally change. The Destroyer story is it's in one respect more simplistic than the first story, because the first story is an origin story, but then in another respect it's more complex because of the reasonings Conan is doing what he's doing, and all the companions that he has. With that being said, I'm still going to go with the original. I'm going Barbarian, because it is a full origin story. You see how the man who created him, Tulsa Doom, you know, that kind of, he's like, I created you, boy. You know, you get to see what happens to his parents. You get to see what happens to his village. You get to learn more about their religion of steel. You know, you get to learn about, you know, the snake cult. And then along the way, he befriends his allies, and he falls in love with Valeria.
Mhm.
You know, he loves and loses her in this. He's tortured in this. He gets revenge in this. So for me, even though this story may seem a little simplistic as well because it's not as many companions, I still think as a story about Conan, it's a more complete one. And with that being said, Destroyer kind of starts in utero. It starts with him killing people, sort of like we were saying as far as the beginning, you know, the opening and so forth. So I got to go with Barbarian on this one because it kind of seems like a more complete story, start to finish.
All right. Okay, Coriander, how about you?
So I have to go with Barbarian. I like, like Eric said, a sucker for a good love story. Well, you get to see these guys, their first meeting, and how they end up falling for each other, and it's sad when she dies. It sucks, because to think if she was in the next movie, how different it would be. It's just, I don't know. It's like possibilities, but yeah, man, I have to go with the first one.
Don't worry,
All right.
he'll see her again in Red Sonja.
There you go. Real quick too, in the chat, we got Dan going with the Barbarian. We've got Surrendus in the chat. Welcome to the chat, saying Conan the Barbarian. Destroyer was more fun, but I think Barbarian really captured the feel of the novels. All right. Let's see. We got a couple more people in here. And by the way, again, if you haven't hit the like button, please do. And Mwamba's going with the Barbarian. Jason's in the chat. What's going on, Jason? Good to see you. D is going with Barbarian. Paul is going with Barbarian. Okay. For me, I think that this is really interesting because these two movies, although there's a lot of parallels and we got a lot of the same folks involved behind and in front of the camera, they're different. The Barbarian obviously is an origin story, and origin stories can usually be very, very good or sometimes can kind of be drawn out. This is an example of an origin story being very, very good. And with the Destroyer, he's already a warrior, a full-blown warrior, and he's on his quest, a quest for love, like you said, Eric, which was a really good point. That being said, I'm going to slightly give the edge to the Destroyer, and here's why. Because once again, prepping for this and doing the intro and everything. So we watch the movies every time, but in a technical way, I watch these movies twice, to prepare for the episodes. So in watching or watching it again and going through it again, there are so many great scenes with Conan in the Destroyer. And of course, because it doesn't have to be an origin story, but even more than that is you also have these other characters that were really full of life, and it was a crew. You're following this crew, and of course there's betrayal and all these different types of things, but that was the thing that was a lot of fun with it too. And we had that in the Barbarian as well, although it came to pass later in the film because there was so much setup for Conan's origin and being a slave and then gaining his freedom and so forth. So I'm just gonna give the slight edge to the Destroyer because of all the different elements that it also has. So, all right, real quick, Tsunami's saying, as a child, I loved Destroyer because that was the target audience. The studio went PG to make more money. Yes, it did.
Yep.
It did. Let's see. Just to catch up with you guys here. Lee's in the chat. What's going on, Lee? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Saying the Destroyer is better. All right. Okay. And Mwamba saying Thulsa Doom even had his own crew of villains. Yes, he did. Well, Taramis did too. Taramis had a whole guard. Like, yeah, it was a damn gang. It was crazy, man.
And technically Bombata was on her side, so
yeah. Hey, man.
And she was a female, right? She ruled her own kingdom, so
yeah, she was a queen.
She had
man.
more people to look over her.
Man. And she also was a witch as well, so that's that's some cool stuff too, man.
Tulsa Doom was misunderstood.
He was, man. He was
still pissed at his barber.
I love it. I love it because he's like, he was just preaching all movie long, wasn't he?
Yeah, girl, come, child, come.
Come
That
to me, child.
is strength.
I love it when he says, the strength of your body, the spirit of your soul. I gave you this. It's like, you're all right, man. Okay, next category. Let's go to our next category. Akiro versus Akiro. Okay, so when we
What?
talk about Akiro being in both movies, Eric, which movie do you prefer him in? Is it The Barbarian or The Destroyer?
Oh, obviously the Destroyer, because he's given much more to do. He's a great narrator for both of them. Mako
He
has
is.
a fantastic voice. You know what
He
I mean?
does.
But I just he's given a lot more to do. He has more of a personality. He's still got that loyalty, but he still has, he's got a little bit of a comic relief relationship with Tracy Walter's character.
Yes.
And he's got a great introduction when the cannibals are going to eat him for his magic. You know what I mean? So again, he's just, and then that whole little battle he has with the wizard, when they're trying to open and close the door, like I said, he's given something to do, and he doesn't really, it might be a poor choice of words, doesn't really do that much in Barbarian.
What?
Compared to the Destroyer,
What?
he doesn't.
Hey,
what do you?
He brought Conan back from the dead. If he didn't do that, there would be no Destroyer. So
Yeah, but
come on now.
But here the question is that which film do you prefer him in as far as his portrayal?
And because he did that act, I'm going before you, Killian. I'm sorry.
Go.
I prefer, and Eric, I love you, but
I know.
for you to say he didn't really do much, his character certainly did, in my opinion.
Okay.
Obviously
In
you're
my
so
opinion,
welcome
he
to
did
have
more in The
yours.
Destroyer.
Yeah, he was more prominent, but he did a more major role playing. I don't know how I want to word it, but in my view, I have to go with the Barbarian because, he brought him back to life. He helped him battle at the end. I mean, he did do some shit. It's not like he didn't do much. So, yeah, there's my answer.
I might be able to lend some words to this one.
Do that. Thank you.
Coriander. I agree. I agree with Coriander. Now, you got to keep in mind there are more characters in Destroyer. So yes, he might be a little bit more prominent, maybe, but you got to give him props. He did bring Conan back to life. He had a lot of little scenes where it was him and Conan talking about their gods. Well, my god is above your god, so my god is better than your god. And Conan's crew in the first movie, it was like Conan and 3 people. Now, if you're talking about him using his wizardry combat, definitely that would be Destroyer. But I feel other than that part in Destroyer, he kind of blends in too much because Grace Jones is like fire.
Yeah.
Every time she's on screen. So anyone else other than Arnold, you're kind of in the background. The guy who's the coward, he's comedy relief, so he lights up the show. And then you have the wizard who, in my opinion, he's in it more, but then again, he's not. So for me, I gotta agree with Coriander. I'm going with Barbarian just for the sheer fact he brought him back to life. He brought him back to life, and all right.
Amen.
He was ride or die with them, and he's the narrator. So
okay. He's a narrator in the Destroyer as well.
But I love you, Eric. I love you.
For me, because I knew this was going to be a question because he is, other than Arnold, the only character that's in both.
Right.
For me, it still feels like he's more prominent in Barbarian because there's so many other bigger personality characters in Destroyer.
Okay. All right, let me just say this. This should have been a slam dunk. This is absolutely easy street. It's got to be the Destroyer, and let me tell you why.
What?
Number one, let me explain this. Hold on, listen. First of all,
man.
He's elevated.
Killian, we're so right on page with this. I'll let you go. Go ahead.
All right, let me finish because I've watched it twice, not just once in the last couple days. So, number one, yes, in The Barbarian, he has that scene where they're talking about their gods. That's like 5 minutes. And yes, he sets up the ritual to bring Conan back. But that was it. That was it. And the thing of it is that, yes, he's a great presence. But in the Destroyer, not only is he a great presence, but he's integral in their whole quest. Because Conan says we need magic to fight magic. So number one, he's already elevated in that sense. He gets rescued. He has fights with other wizards. He's there the whole time. Now, granted, you're right. There are more characters, but this whole movie is about like this band of warriors. And he is who he is. You know, he's the wizard. He's the wisdom. And to me, I don't even think it's this. Just goes to show you when we do these categories, you never know. This isn't even close, in my opinion. He's more prominent.
No
He's a better.
way, dude.
Let me finish. He's a better character in the Destroyer because he's more fully formed. He's more fully formed. In the Barbarian, he talked about his gods and he set up the ritual to bring Conan back, and that's it. In the Destroyer, you got a sense of who he was, what his magic was. Even when Jenna was taken by the wizard,
he found the tunnels under the water.
Without him, they wouldn't have been able to do any of that.
Shrugged the shoulders, got in the boat, and left. Yeah,
he was much more elevated in the Destroyer. So I didn't even think it was close.
He's more, for me. He's more important in the first, just because he brings them back from the dead. So
that's fair.
That takes
I
over everything else. Because you had little Queenie over here. Oh, I can bring your lover back from the dead. But did she? No. You know,
she was lying to him from the beginning. Well, that's
exactly,
but that's a whole
which we
nother
all
thing.
knew, except for Conan. It's too bad.
I think I actually was looking at it the same way. Like the stakes that he had, to me, were bigger in the first movie. But I definitely see your point. I see your point.
Okay.
Yeah, I see it. But
Paul is saying, can I go with both and declare a tie? I wish we could, but we can't. D knows what's going on, saying the Destroyer. Lee saying Akiro is.
See, and don't say he knows what's going on. He knows what's going on, because then that makes me feel like my answer is not the correct answer.
No, there is no correct.
He held the door open against another wizard real quick.
Yeah.
The other one, he brings someone back from the dead. I don't.
Lee saying Akiro is better in the Destroyer. I just think he is. That's just how it is. But anyways, okay. Next category, guys. Okay, so we've got Bombata versus Subutai. So in this category, we're basically asking who is the more prominent character. Okay, so Eric, who are you going with?
I don't know. Should I say? Is it okay?
It is.
All right. I'm going Bombata. You know what I mean? I love Subutai is great. He really is a lot of fun. But I just there's more of a presence. It's not just because it's fucking Wilt Chamberlain. Bombata just has more of a presence. You know what I mean? I like how
he's a fucking tree. Of course he does.
Right, but I like how he's a bad guy from the get-go, but he's still got to go along with it, and just a little bits when he's he's gonna take out Conan, and then when that scene, I thought you were gonna hurt the girl, bullshit, Conan's putting two and two together, but I just like that, and then the fact that he just dwarfs Arnold, you know what I mean? That this adds it to me, like when Conan's drunk on the wine and he just walks into him like he's the wall. And then just tumbles over. I just think he's used more, and I like him more.
All right. Okay. Kill. How about you?
Yeah, this is an easy street. It's got to be Bombata. Not only is he a bad guy, but it's Wilt Chamberlain. And like Eric said, anybody that can dwarf Arnold, you're going to get my vote, because he, and is he a bad guy or is he just loyal to his queen? You might not agree with him or his queen.
Good point.
But he's loyal to his queen, and he definitely cares for this young lady who he's guarded since she was a kid. So he's not, in my opinion. Hey, it's Wilt Chamberlain. He's not a bad guy. So Bombata.
All right. How about you, Coriander?
I did not enjoy Bombata, but Subutai, I'm sorry, he the way that him and Arnold met, they were in that, that whatever that cat lady was, whatever she was. I don't know what the hell she was. A witch, maybe. I don't know. But he was chained up there and he saved him. And from there on, it's like their adventure began. And he was with him through quite a bit, when he met his love, when he lost his love. They battled in the end and they won. He helped him become king, you know, who he was. He helped him, you know, yeah, you know, in a lot. So I'm gonna go with Subutai. So there you
Okay.
go.
This is an interesting one because again, both of these characters, you know, they're different types of characters, and their presence is kind of different, done in a different way as well. Bombata obviously was a very interesting character, a very intimidating character, very intense, you know, a great fight at the end too with Conan, which is like, you know, when you're watching the movie, even rewatching it, you're just waiting for it. You're like, okay, let's just come on, let's get to a fight between you guys because this has kind of been brewing the whole movie, you know. And Kill, you made a good point too. You know, is he an evil person or is he just loyal to Queen Taramis?
I didn't
Right?
think of it that way.
Exactly. You know, so it's interesting. Subutai is a really cool character, brought on to be that you know, the right hand man, the buddy character, and so forth. One of the best scenes that I really enjoyed too is you know, when he cried for Conan. You know,
Yeah.
Akiro said, "Why do you cry?" And he said, "Well, he is Conan. He is Sumerian. He will not cry. Well, I will cry for him." Like, you know, that was some cool shit, man.
Exactly.
You know, it's cool
Hmm.
shit. So based upon that, and also just kind of, you know, the camaraderie that he had with Conan came at a point where, you know, Conan needed that, you know. It's like Conan needed to become trustworthy of other people, because remember what his father said: you can't trust women, men, or beasts, but the steel you can trust. And that code served Conan well early in the movie, but it also betrayed him, you know. And who knows? I mean, you could almost say that led to Valeria's death because he didn't trust his homies, so to speak, right? You know, he went off on his own, you know, to find doom, and it was a domino effect. But I'm ranting. But anyways, I'm gonna go with Subutai on this. So, but Bombata was awesome, really, really was. These movies are
Hmm.
cool, man. They really are. D is going with Bombata. Paul is going with Bombata. Dan is going with everything Barbarian tonight. The Destroyer has no worth at all. All right. Let's see. Mwamba going with Bombata. All right. Tsunami saying Subutai. Okay. Wow. Okay. We've got some balance in the chat. Very cool. Okay. Next category. The better action scenes. The better action scenes, Eric. So who are we going with on this? Or which movie, I should say, are we going with?
Honestly, they're both great, but I'm gonna go with Destroyer because in my opinion, I think there's more of it. You know, I think that the pace in between in between action scenes in Barbarian is a little more spaced out. So there's more in the Destroyer to compare to. They're more brutal in my opinion, you know, especially for a PG movie. And again, that whole final sequence with Digoth and or anytime Grace Jones, like her little fight with Bombata is great. You know what I mean? When you
that
think she's
was
leaving,
good.
she turns around. I told you, my daughter was watching this with me. The smile on her face when she turned her horse around and she went full on charging Bombata, like she was about ready to cheer. You know what I mean? So it's just, you know, even just small little fights like that, I think pushes the Destroyer a little bit over Barbarian.
Okay. All right. How about you, Kill?
This is an easy street one. I gotta go with Destroyer. Just like Eric said, there's more of them. You know, whether it's Arnold's fighting Mirror Beast, you know, wizards.
Right?
Wizards are fighting wizards.
Yes.
You know, Arnold is getting knocked off horses, fighting, you know, soldiers in the forest,
Punching camels,
ripping horns out of demons' skulls. I mean, that's metal as hell. He ripped the horn out. Like, we giveth and we taketh away.
Slowly ripped it out.
Literally, yeah. So I gotta go with Destroyer in this one.
All right. Coriander, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with these two guys. Destroyer, definitely.
Wow, you got a point for the Destroyer. All right.
Hey, I wonder.
Well, because it's true.
There's no lying here.
Who would have? Well, is there?
Whatever. Whatever.
All right. Real quick in the chat, Paul is going with Barbarian. Dan's going with Barbarian. D's going with the Destroyer. And Brandon, yeah, you know, if only the kids would watch this type of stuff. They're just too young for it. They don't get it. One day they will. and then I'm gonna make fun of them. That's what I'm gonna do. Tsunami's saying Barbarian, more epic, violent, realistic, better choreography. All right, okay, but not as much as the Destroyer, though, right? My point has to go with the Destroyer as well. And Eric, you said it really, really well. Not only is it soldiers, and not only is it Conan, but it's the other characters too. And you talked about it too. Grace Jones, a lot of great scenes, but not only just fighting itself, but the build up to the fighting. You know what I'm saying? Even at the end, the finale for the Destroyer, there's a lot of stuff going on, man. You know, it really, really is. So that's not to take away anything from the Barbarian, because there's great stuff. You know, in the beginning, you know, destroying the village was really, really epic. But again, you know, I'm basing it more on the fact that we had more of it in the Destroyer, and it was more varied, you know, and we saw Conan fighting more. That, to me, that's the biggest thing too. And again, it's not an origin story, so there's an advantage there, but it is what it is, because there's some advantages that the origin story has over the Destroyer, so it balances out at the end of the day. Lee is going with the Destroyer, saying the Destroyer is better. Jason saying the Riddle of Steel. Yes, you know what it is, don't you, boy? Love it. Okay, next up, Eric, let's go to our next category. Favorite quote. And if you don't remember the full quote, that's okay. But whatever you might remember, or you can describe the scene too. You don't have to know the quote exactly word by word.
It's going to be from the Destroyer, and it's funny coming from me, but it's when Grace Jones is talking to Jenna. Grab him and take him.
Take him.
It's just so fun. It's out of place because it's Jenna, you know, she's fawning over Conan, and it's just another reason why I love her character, you know, Grace Jones. And it's a quote I've been saying for years, you know what I mean? You know, just, you know, talking with my friends, you know, randomly we'll say it, you know, stuff like that. It's just a lot of fun, and it just sticks out in a movie like Conan the Destroyer. You know what I mean? She's going to Zula of all people for love advice. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like a pure, you know, female barbarian, she's just saying, take it. You know, whatever you want, you just grab him and take him.
It's the way she said it too, man.
Take him.
Shout out to Grace Jones. Shout out to Grace Jones.
Yeah.
You know, she definitely had, you know, a couple of really memorable roles in film. But you know, obviously coming from the world of music, and it seemed like a seamless transition. It was almost like she was perfect for this role.
Oh, she was. Dude.
You know, it was just perfect, man. But good call. How about you, Kill?
Okay, I knew this question was going to come, so I have it pulled up here so I can say this properly. My favorite quote is from the original movie in his gladiator phase, when they ask him, Conan, what is best in life?
Yeah.
Riches, you know, glory? No. Conan, what is best? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of their women.
Yeah.
That's
a good one.
That's
a very popular
my favorite
one.
quote.
Yeah, man. Very, very cool. All right, Coriander, how about you?
So one that stuck with me is from the first movie, and it's when he said, "You killed my mother, you killed my father, you killed my people, and you took my father's sword."
Good one. Yeah, that was a good one. That was a great scene, man. It was like, you know, he finally came face to face with Doom, and what a great scene, man. Seriously. Dan saying Barbarian, every other line is gold. Every other line is gold. There you go. All right. Troy in the chat, so popping in for a quick hello. Can't stay, but you can put me down for Barbarian when the fan vote comes. Okay. All right. All right. Now for me, there's great quotes in both movies. Okay. And I think here's the thing I want to say. For the Destroyer, and again, we've talked about how these two films are different, right? The thing about the Destroyer is I think there's more personality in it, you know, for everyone, especially Conan. You know, I mean, that's the biggest difference of all, is that Arnold is allowed to have more personality in this role, and I think to me it really does make a difference. He becomes a little bit more fully formed. But my favorite quote is from The Barbarian, and I think it's one of the coolest quotes of all time. And absolutely, this scene was so cool, not only because of the music, but the character, the delivery, and probably just as importantly, the words. The quote is, "All the gods, they cannot sever us. If I were dead and you were still fighting for life, I'd come back from the darkness, back from the pit of hell to fight at your side. Valeria." That was such a great scene. When she said it, you believed it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was a dark point in the movie. When I'm watching it, when I first watched it as a kid, you don't know what's going on. And I'm thinking, what? He's dead or he's dying? What's going on? He can't die, can he? Whatever. But her delivery in that moment was so good. And even prepping for this, I probably watched that scene about 10 times.
Wow.
Just to absorb that quote, because it's so good. It is such a great quote. So anyways, I'm ranting. But
can I add one thing?
Yeah.
Tulsa Doom, every time he speaks, it's a great quote. So
yeah,
he's the cheat code. Every time James
he's
Earl,
the Konami code.
He really is. Every time James Earl Jones opens his mouth, it is quotable.
It is. It really, really is. I mean, and don't get me wrong, there were some great ones from him. And I was trying to, think of some other things. But for me, that Valeria quote is just really, and maybe it's because it's emotional too, because the other thing too is, as soon as because he's back, he had been brought back at that point, is when she said it, basically to let him know, hey, I got your back. And that was paid off later on in the movie when he was about to be killed and her spirit saved him, right? Which is some great stuff, both of these movies, when I'm talking about The Barbarian. But as soon as she said that quote to him, then you had that beautiful music by Basil, and then that's when he was standing with the sword and he's looking at his wound, and then he goes through his sword play and stuff. It's just fantastic shit, man. I'm telling you, people that are watching this, people in the live chat, or people watching the replay, and I know so many of you guys haven't seen these movies. Hopefully you can tell by this conversation, you guys should watch these movies, because they are so good. They really, really are. Okay. Real quick. Let's see. D is going with Barbarian. All right. Lee says anything Grace Jones said in The Destroyer.
Yes.
She was great, man.
I don't want the infection to spread. I'll spread your head open.
Yes. Oh man, it's great. Let's see. Jason was saying my favorite is "There's a time when gold loses its luster and all that remains is a father's love for his child." Shout out to Max von Sydow, and we haven't even talked about him as King Osric. Yeah, some great stuff, man. Great stuff. Mwamba's going with Barbarian. Paula's going with Barbarian. All right. Okay. Brandon saying, all right, fam, I'm going to head out because I'm feeling sleepy. Definitely be checking out these films. Yeah, you should, man. Catch you later. Yeah.
Have a good
Catch
night.
you later, man. Have a good night. Next up, favorite scene, Eric. What's your favorite scene between these two movies?
I keep going back to it. I'm going to the finale of Destroyer, and not just Arnold fighting Dagoth and Tracy Walters, like I mentioned. He gets his little hero moment. I love who saves Jenna. Again, Grace Jones. You know what I mean? She shows up in the nick of time. Perfect accuracy with that spear.
Yeah,
wonderful. So that's my favorite scene from there to the very end.
All right. How about you, Kill?
I always try to go off the first scene that comes to my mind, and I'm a fan of Bruce Lee. I'm a fan of Enter the Dragon.
I know what you're doing.
It's got to be the mirror fight in Destroyer. And
dun, 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 dun,
yeah,
dun, dun, dun,
and that music is
dun.
haunting because it's like it has a curious tone, it has a mysterious tone, it has an illusionary kind of tone, and this wizard is pretty badass. And just the whole sheer fact that he turns himself into some creature and is beating the living crap out of Conan.
Yeah.
And then the whole mirror play, which, you know, shouts out to Enter the Dragon. If you know, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the first one that came to my mind. Love that scene. But I would like to give an honorary mention to the first movie where they're dressed in the black and they're the shadow thieves. I like that. Shouts out to the army. They're going in, you know, mercenary style. Do it. But yeah.
Hey, let me just say something, man. Good for you, man, because that mirror fight, as soon as you started talking about it, I was seeing it and I could hear that music. And I love that theme too. You know, it's so, like you said, Arnold's getting his ass kicked.
He got lucky.
He got lucky, but even towards the end of it, he's like, okay, there's 2 mirrors left.
Yes.
I know you're behind one of them. And the rest of the team's like, no, not this one.
Right.
So it's like this scene had everything. It had violence, it had mystery, it had comedy, it had high action.
Yeah.
Good for
and
you,
suspense.
buddy.
A lot of suspense.
Good for you. All right. How about you, Coriander?
So I have to go with a scene that I've always remembered, you know, since I was a kid, you know, because it was creepy. You know, it's when, you know, Arnold was laying there dead and tied down and had the writing all over him, and the demons or whatever came and was trying to take him, and you had Valeria and Subutai fighting him off, and yeah, I picked that scene.
Yeah, that was. I gotta admit, as a kid, that caught me off guard too, man. It was creepy because
Yeah,
the spirits were there
right?
trying to take him, and
Yes.
Akiro said that, you know, there's going to be a heavy price, and yeah, that was a really well done scene, even with the little old school effects and stuff like that. Still looks better than what they would have done today with CGI. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And
Yep.
yeah, that's a great one. Good call. I love that one. For me, this is tough, man. I could pick so many. I love the mirror scene. I love the opening. I love so many things. The face off with Tulsa Doom. You know, the ending of the Destroyer. But you know, again, I just kind of go with the one that always pops into my mind. And Kill, you probably know what I'm gonna pick. I have to talk about that fight again in the Destroyer on horseback, because you see the whole landscape. It's so beautiful. You know, they clash with swords and then they're fighting and fighting and fighting. And then, you know, they fall off the horse. And look, man, it's not a coincidence that one of the images I have is right from that scene when Arnold gets off the horse and he's got the sword and then he goes through his little sword play. And I could not tell you guys how many times as a kid, before I learned how to wield an actual sword, that I would imitate that one scene with a stick, a plastic bat, whatever I could grab, and just, you know, behind the back. And, you know, dude, I can't even tell you, know it, Kill. You know, I used to do that to you, man. You know, so I'm just gonna pick that because I love that scene so much. It's so well done. Arnold trained for a long time, you know, to work on the sword choreography and so forth. The music as well. I talked about that earlier. You know, dun 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 dun. It's just so awesome, man. I could literally watch this movie right now, and it'd be okay. So that's the scene I'm going to pick from Conan the Destroyer. Okay, real quick. Paul is going with the Barbarian. Lee's going with the finale of the Destroyer and the glass scene, the mirror scene. Tsunami's is going with Battle of the Mounds and the Barbarian. Jason saying the raid of the village in the Barbarian is epic. The music is everything. It truly is. Yeah. D's going with the mirror fight. All right. Very, very cool stuff. Let's go to our next category. And the next category will be your favorite fight. Your favorite fight, Eric.
I'm gonna go with the mirror fight in Destroyer. Pretty much a lot of what Kill already said, you know, in the previous category. But I also just, you know, I love how Conan is just getting his ass handed to him until he, by pure luck, accidentally strikes a mirror. You know what I mean? Plus, I just love, you know, the way they use the music, the sound effects of that monster. You know, either it's growling like a lion or that, I don't know what the sound they use when howling in pain. You know what I mean? So that's my favorite fight of the two films. You know.
All right. How about you, Kill?
Man, this is tough, but you know, I'm your brother, so we have some of the same taste. When he falls off the horse, man, and he goes through like, you know, twisting the sword around, going behind the back, like that fight sequence, it was tamed in a lot of ways because it was kind of just one-on-one, you know, but it was like, oh, this is gonna be a fight because now you kind of pissed Conan off. Now he has to kind of show you what he can really do. Like, it's like, oh, you done messed up now. You know? So yeah, just seeing that has been taken so much by pop culture, video games, you name it, anime, you know, come on. So yeah, I gotta say that fight right there and the sword work.
And you know, and that was the same actor, Sven Thorson. You know, he was in the first movie. They tried to be slick and cover him up with the mask and the destroyer. Well, we knew who he was.
I know who you are. You're Arnold's buddy. I know you.
Yes,
Again, in the Running Man too. Yep.
Yes, he was in the Running Man as the police, the guard, the
guard,
security guy. Yeah. And Coriander even said that too. She's like, "Isn't that the guy from the first movie?" We're like, "Yes, it is." Yep. So they didn't fool us, man. All right, good stuff. Coriander, how about you?
Well, it's funny because that guy's in this scene. You know, when all three of them are in that one of the temples where they kill the snake, and then they go up and they're in the room where everyone is with the cauldron of the, you know, the food made out of human body parts, the soup. And, you know, that to me is one of my favorite fight scenes because you see, you know, Valeria and Subutai and Conan all doing their thing and they're kicking ass and it was great.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. Real quick, let's see what these guys are saying here. Tsunami's saying Battle of the Mounds and Barbarian. Yeah, it's a great one. Barbarian, the Palace Raid. All right. Lee's saying, oh, actually, no, we already had these come up. Okay. Dan was saying Battle of the Mounds. Okay. Good ones. Good ones, guys. For me, you know, look, man, there's a lot of great fights in both of these films, man. But I'm gonna go back, you know, to that scene that I just described, man. It's just, I'm telling you guys, and again, you know, when you first see a movie, a lot of times that that initial feeling you get from it, you know, that first recall and so forth. It was just such a great scene because it is one-on-one, but you're seeing him do so much, you know, that you didn't get to see him do in some of the other fights. You know what I'm saying? I also do love the mirror scene, the mirror fight too. That was really, really good. So it could be either one of those. So my vote has to go for the Destroyer, man. Just some great stuff. Great stuff. All right. Let's go to our next category, guys. Next category. You knew it had to happen. Valeria versus Zula. Okay. Which Amazonian warrior are we going with, Eric?
This is tough. It really is tough, but I'm going with my girl Grace. Just her attitude. I don't get me wrong. I love Valeria. She is a great female barbarian character. You know what I mean? The character you don't want to mess with. But there's just, in my opinion, this isn't trying to knock Valeria. There's more personality to Zula. You know what I mean? She's more human. Like here, I was just thinking about this. You know, she's kind of like Mac in Predator to me. Badass, loyal, but there's some scenes of humanity to her. You know what I mean? I love one of my favorite scenes with her is when she's afraid of a fucking rat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of all things, she's afraid of nothing. She'll take on that horned beast or whatever. But you see a little rat and she's scared. You know what I mean? And then she looks and she just kind of shrugs. You know what I mean?
It was cute. Yeah.
You know, I love her so much in this. When she smiles, when she beats the shit out of someone, you know what I mean? My daughter loved that. She pointed, she's like, look how happy she is. You know, it's stuff like that. The little added stuff that Grace Jones does to this character.
Yeah.
Makes her more fun and more cool, in my opinion. So gotta go her.
Okay, all right. Kill, how about you?
I knew this question was gonna come. This is tough. I look at it twofold. Grace Jones, she has a beautiful smile.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
when Conan just rolls up on her and she's being taunted by the village, and he just like frees her, and she just looks at him and just the biggest beautiful smile.
Yeah.
And then she just goes into, she chooses violence. You know?
That's right.
So I agree with Eric. Her personality is so big and also comedic, whereas Valeria is kind of one note. But I'm still gonna go with Valeria. The reasoning for that is she is tough, yet she can show she's vulnerable, and she fought off demons that were trying to take the body of her lover. Like, that is hardcore. Like, I mean, she was there from him, you know, like started from the bottom. Now we're here. She's getting drunk in the tavern with him. She was with him when he ain't have nothing.
You're
And
right.
she was literally ride or die. She died on top of a horse. Okay, for the most part. So yeah, she is a little one note, but I still gotta go for Larry.
All
Nothing
right.
wrong with that.
Well said. Coriander, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, Killian said it. Valeria, totally. I mean, what did Zula really do? I mean, how much was she really in it? Not much. I mean, Valeria, she was like, what's that? Kicking ass, getting drunk,
Eric is like, what?
falling in love, having sex. I mean,
Eric's like,
come on. Come on.
All right.
There's no comparison.
Okay. All right. For me, this is a challenging one because you know I do agree with everything you know that's said about these characters being Zula having you know a little bit more range in what she's doing, but you know Valeria had some tender moments, happy moments and stuff too. So I don't know, now that I think more about it, it may not be as much of a gap between the two in that sense. Valeria was definitely a little bit more stoic the way she was presented, but again, she's basically the female barbarian in this film. I love Grace Jones, and you got in Kill, you know that, and she was perfect in that role. But there is no lying. There has never been any lying on any live stream we've done. It is, for me, it's got to be Valeria, and it is, and it's and that says a lot because as much as I love Zula as a character, Valeria, it's all about Valeria, and I think for me, when I first saw this movie, it really struck me as a kid because she was such a powerful presence in a little bit of a different way than Conan, right? But also, I think that Valeria, you know, Sandal Bergman, who portrayed Valeria, she really lifted Conan's character or Arnold's portrayal, right? Because a lot of what we saw of Conan was through her. Also Subutai, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, when this movie was put together, they knew that Arnold wasn't going to have a lot of dialogue. So that was part of the reason that the composing was done in a certain way by Basil, but also having characters around Conan that could give that humanity and so forth. And Valeria was one of the biggest parts of that. She was absolutely badass, like you said, Kill, right there when he's on the edge of death. I will pay the price. You know, she didn't even hesitate. She was all in. And of course, when she died, I'm not gonna lie, man. Even when we just watched it the other day, it was kind of like, you know, it hits.
Yep.
You know, because
It still does.
Because you really got the sense that they were
Well, when you
perfect for each
truly,
other.
when you truly love someone, you're willing to do that.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I'd do
So
that for you, babe.
Well,
I'd
same
fight
here,
the
babe.
demons off you.
Yeah, you would. Thank you. I would too.
You know it.
I would too, sweetie. I would too. But yeah, both of these are great characters, but I just gotta go with Valeria. Go with Valeria.
Yeah, she was good. I will say this: go down the Grace Jones rabbit hole of what she did for this movie. That when she's fighting Wilt Chamberlain, she literally bit him on the ear for real and drew blood. That's what it's in the scene. You see him grabbing it. They kept it in the movie, and the celebration party she had for all the actors. She served raw meat because that's what
that's
Zula
where
would
Mike
eat,
Tyson got
stuff like
that.
What? Don't do that.
Yeah, Grace Jones would have ate the
What,
ear and
man?
not spit it on the ground.
Right? Tsunami saying Valeria, but I'll say this about Grace Jones. She's iconic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No doubt at all.
Went on to be a Bond girl.
That's right. She was great in that, man.
Mhm.
Lee saying Zula is a better character. All right. Mag is saying, what do you think about Red Sonja? Well, we might be talking about Red Sonja on Battleworld at some point soon.
Yes.
It's
With the
definitely got its,
movie, some people might not, have
they may not know a
seen
lot about
or
it.
heard. Yes, and I'm so excited for this one too. So
Yes,
yes.
I just like that Valeria is the bad guy. The same actress.
There you
Keep
go.
it in the family.
Keep it in the family. Okay, next up, we're almost there, guys. Next up, Eric, you knew it was going to get down to this. Tulsa Doom versus Queen Taramis. Who are you
Oh,
going
come
with?
on.
Yeah, there's no lying, I gotta go Barbarian, see, I'm not playing favorites. Because as much as I love Taramis, because who doesn't love, like, in the time of Barbarians, an evil female queen, you know what I mean, who has magical powers. Problem is she doesn't use them enough, you know what I mean?
True.
And there's not that much to her, but she's got a great presence. This is James Earl Jones, okay? And I grew up, not counting Star Wars, with Happy-Go-Lucky, Sandlot, Field of Dreams, James Earl Jones. This was my second viewing of this, and the first time since my daughter was born. She's 11. He is scary in this movie, and he doesn't. This is a bad choice for us. He doesn't do a lot other than the opening scene and then the stuff at the end and turning into the snake. But he has.
That's why I think this is a good. That's why I think this is a good comparison, because I think
Yes.
both of them, it was more about presence versus actual physical things that they did.
Correct. And that's what it is. He look at that still you got him right there. He just looks badass. The costume and everything, and it's a great combination of his acting, his character, his look. Gotta go with Tulsa Doom.
All right. How about you, Kill?
They are both great evil characters, both. But there's no lying here. This is unfortunately this is a rare one. This is an unfortunate easy streak for me.
Right.
Yeah.
But I gotta go with James Earl Jones, because from the moment that he comes into their village, he's on the horse, he takes off the helmet, and he just looks at you. He compelled Conan's mom to lower her sword, and then he just turns away, and then you just see him just flip around and just lops her head off. No other words, and it's like, you don't have to do any other physical thing the rest of this movie, and he doesn't. He doesn't really, other than turn into a giant snake. But
Exactly. I was like, what?
Yeah, but that right there, you're a badass. Because after that, he just compels everyone to do his bidding. He compels young women to fall to him just so he could prove a point.
That's right.
Just like, come here, girl, and just the way he talks. A true villain doesn't always have to show physical strength.
Correct.
Right.
And neither of these villains really do, but they're both imposing. But I gotta go with my man James Earl Jones.
All right. Coriander, how about you?
Yeah, definitely Doom. Definitely. I mean, Killian said a lot of it. He was, like he told Conan, he was in a phase of just looking for the steel, and he would take and kill anything for it. So, I mean, in a way, it's almost like they shared, their religion, maybe for a second. But so
that's a good point.
Doom is definitely. So
awesome. Yeah, that was a good point. Good call. It's a challenging one, because look, man, I mean, you got two actors that they've shown that they can play amazing villains, and not just these roles here. Okay, because shout out again to Superman 2 and Ursa, man. Sarah Douglas, she is no joke, and especially in V. But look, man, let's just call it what it is, man. Doom. When they were just chanting Doom, I was like, this guy's all right. He's all right. I love it when Arnold tries to infiltrate and he does a horrible job of it. Conan tries to infiltrate and does a horrible job of it. He gets caught by the guards. James Earl Jones walks up to Arnold. I mean, he's obviously a physical threat. James Earl Jones just looks at him. I wish to speak to you now. I was like, yo.
He doesn't bat an eye. He doesn't care.
He does not care about you, bro. He does not care that your whole life has been to this one moment to meet him. And he's just so intimidating. And like you said, too, Kill, in the beginning, he doesn't even speak a word, when they destroy the village, when he's given Conan's father's sword, the way he looks at it, compelling the mother to lower her sword. He doesn't even say a word. It's like, that's what I'm talking about, man. So it's got to be Doom. There's no question about that. Okay. All right. Let's see what these guys said in the chat. Let's see. Tsunami's going with Doom. D's going with Doom. Paula's going with Doom. Russell says Doom, of course. True enough. Lee's going with Doom as well. Absolutely. But shout out to Queen Taramis, because I love Sarah. I love Sarah Douglas. I really, really do. Next up, Eric, the better Conan portrayal, film to film. Which version of Conan are you going to give the point to?
We kind of touched on this earlier. I'm going with Destroyer because there's more personality to him. You know what I mean? I love the stoic, all business of the Barbarian. I do like Arnold a little bit more in the Destroyer, even in the opening, fight scene when he's talking to Tracy Walters, trying to discuss, why are these guys after us? And it was just little quips like that. He was just quick and to the point. But, I love the scene where he's drunk and trying to teach Jenna how to use a real weapon, not a toothpick, stuff like that. And I think there's just more personality to him. And it was beneficial because, like we've said, this is not an origin story. He's already played the character once, so he can flesh him out more.
Yep. How about you, Kill?
This is a hard one for me because the first movie you get to see the gladiator phase, the thief phase, and then the warrior phase. Whereas in Destroyer, it's just the warrior phase. With that being said, I'm still going to give it to Destroyer because there is more of Arnold's personality that's in there, for better or worse. He there are scenes where he, like Eric said, he can be a little lighter, calling Grace Jones's weapon a toothpick and kind of, let me show you a real weapon, and running into Wilt Chamberlain and falling down drunk and so forth.
Does anything hurt you? Only pain,
Only pain. Yeah, I love that.
So yeah, I'm gonna give it to Destroyer for this one.
All right, Coriander, how about you?
I'm gonna go with the Barbarian just because I guess I like the seriousness of it. So, and I like, like we see him as a kid and from a child just pushing that wheel like till he's this giant man, and then he's, fighting and killing, and he had a tragic life, and it's too bad because it probably would have been totally different if Doom never came to their friggin' village. So yeah, man, I'm gonna go with, the Barbarian.
All right. To me, it's an interesting question because again, we get different things going on, and it's basically because of the fact that one is the first movie and the other one is the second, and so there's growth that happens. I really did enjoy his portrayal in both films, but if I had to pick one, I got to go with the Destroyer. And you guys said pretty much everything as far as there were more moments of him as far as the personality and kind of being more fully formed. Not only that, but just the way he interacted with the other characters. He was allowed to do more interacting with the other characters, and there was so much more of that. If if there was more interaction with the characters in Barbarian, as far as the dialogue and so, because that's the strength. It's an advantage and a disadvantage, between these two films, because one film is definitely more stoic, more serious in nature, which is great, but there's also questions of rewatchability and things that you always remember, quotes and so forth from Conan himself, and it's more of that in The Destroyer. So that's why I'm going to go with Conan the Destroyer. Tough call, though. Tough call. D's going with The Destroyer. Russell's going with Barbarian. Let's see. Dan's going with Barbarian. All right. Dan has not gone with Destroyer on anything. Wow, Dan. Wow.
That's
Lee
okay,
saying
Dan.
The Destroyer, he is a better character. Okay. All right. Next up, Eric.
I kind of find him a sad character, because what kind of life is that to be, drunk and who gives a shit? Yeah, I don't know. I just thought he was better in the first movie.
Oh, okay. You mean he was more sad in the second movie? More of a sad character?
Yeah, how he turned out. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah. So now we're going to go into the finale. So Eric, who are you going to give the point to for finale?
I'm going with Destroyer. I've already praised how much I love the finale of The Destroyer. Barbarian's good. I just wish there was more Conan versus Doom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of just a simple beheading. As cool as it was, there's no comparison for the finales for me. Gotta go Destroyer.
Okay. All right. How about you, Kill?
This is a tough one because both of the finales do different things. The first movie, he finally completes the circle. He gets his revenge in a very epic, public way in front of all the children of Doom. Whereas Destroyer is kind of like a Marvel finale. He's fighting the big bad, literally. He's fighting a horned demon. But for me, the stakes aren't there as much as in the first movie. I'm going with Barbarian, and I agree with Eric, even though there's no like sword to sword fight between him and Doom. You gotta keep in mind, Doom is an old man by now. Doom had already, burned and pillaged and looked for the riddle of steel when he was a younger man. But there are the final fights where he kind of takes down Doom's loyal soldiers and so forth and this and that. But I just think just the optics of being on top of that pyramid structure with the stairs and the fact that Doom doesn't even believe he's going to strike him down. He's still so arrogant in it. Like,
you've come back to me, my son.
Take my hand. It's like, whoa.
Well, he's also trying to use his power, and it looked like for maybe a second he did have Conan under his spell.
Yeah, and he does exactly to Doom what Doom did to his mom.
Yeah,
takes his head,
Good point.
and then shows it to all the children of Doom, and then throws it
Drops
down.
it.
It doesn't get much more metal than that. I'm sorry, I gotta go.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I think my main thing is maybe because this is like the first time seeing it in like maybe 11 years, I didn't know what to expect, and I was expecting more from the ending of Barbarian. I think that's what had a lot to do with it. Like if this was my 10th time or more, like you guys, it might be different. But as of this one, going with Destroyer because of that.
All right. How about you, Coriander?
I mean, I have to go with the Barbarian. I love that he got his revenge. He fought for, his people, his village, his father, everything, his sword. We got his sword back. So that to me is more important, than fighting a goofy looking puddle demon with a horn. He looks like a mud puddle. It's like, why couldn't they have, compared the snake to the puddle horn demon? Come on, there's no comparison here.
Well, it's a snake. How can you mess up the snake?
No,
making something look like a
in the 80s, I mean, come on. They made the swamp thing look better than puddle horn dude.
I wouldn't go that far.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah,
either.
they did. Yeah.
No.
Hey, of course they did.
Hey,
they did.
You can at least
All right, hold on. Hey,
Admiral Akbar, like that. He kind of looks
There
like
you
that.
go.
All right.
All
Or
right, so
maybe
real
I
quick,
need some, Pepto to help that diarrhea, because
okay, real quick
it didn't
though.
look that nice,
All right, hold on, guys. Hold on, real quick, because we're at the 2 minute warning. You guys are going on and hold on, relax. Okay, so for me, for finale, I'm gonna go with Barbarian as well, and I think it's because of everything that culminated in that scene. But not only that, but there was a lot of there was a lot of subtext to it as well. Because again, and you said it really well, Kill. He killed Doom just the way that Doom killed his mother. But not only that, but once he beheaded him, threw his head down, he let go of his father's sword. He completed his quest. You know what I'm saying? And that was a big thing too. He killed him with that sword and he threw down that sword. So there was a lot of great stuff in that finale. Destroyer was great too, but I'm gonna go with Barbarian for that. Okay, our last category, and we're gonna go through this real quick, guys. We got the 2 minute warning. We're gonna choose which movie you're going to pick. Eric, what do we got?
Okay, we'll do it fast. I'm going to pick Destroyer. I really enjoyed Barbarian, but like I said, this is the second time in over a decade that I've seen it. I didn't know what I was getting into, and it was a little, as of this viewing, too slow for me. I absolutely love Destroyer. You know what I mean? Because of all the action, the characters. It's much more fun for me. So going with that.
Okay. All right. How about you, Kill?
I'm gonna go with Barbarian. It was
right.
the OG. It is a slower pace, and it maybe not as rewatchable as Destroyer, but
What?
I just love that original Barbarian.
All right, relax. Okay, Coriander, how about you?
Well, I
Destroyer's
just
a
mean
fun
for the
watch.
rewatchability. I've watched
She's
Conan,
on
I don't know
fire.
how many more times versus this is like Barbarian is, I mean, not Barbarian, but Destroy is probably like what? The second time or third time maybe that I've seen it versus
Okay.
Conan. So
This is only the second
rewatchability,
time I
I'm just
watched
disagreeing
Barbarian.
on that part. That's the
Yeah.
only part I'm disagreeing on.
Okay, all right. Well, we're
Because I
not talking
could
about
watch Conan
rewatchability.
anytime.
All right, so
Anytime.
you're picking Barbarian.
Oh, of course I am.
Okay, all right. I'm picking Barbarian as well. So we got through that quick because we got to wrap this up. So guys, let me count up the points. I'm gonna have you guys do a quick recap. I'm talking less than 45 seconds. Eric, we'll start with you.
I'm glad this was chosen because it got me to watch Barbarian again, which I did enjoy, but I also got me to watch Destroyer again, which it's a movie I absolutely love, and I'm glad and surprised that it got as much love as it did tonight because a lot of people that I know who love Conan don't really care too much for the Destroyer, so that was actually pleasant to see tonight.
I love both of these movies. I've seen both these movies at least 50 or 60 times each. And had you had asked me like when I was a little bit younger, for the most part, all of my choices probably would have went to Destroyer because it is more bombastic. To me, it does have more rewatchability because you have comedy in it, you have more bigger personalities. In that respect, it does feel like it's more rewatchable because it's funnier. But that OG is more serious and it's just iconic. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I don't like The Destroyer because I do. It's a great movie, but I absolutely love Conan the Barbarian. And I mean, I don't think it's slow, for me. And like I said, the rewatchability is, I mean, I remember that movie as a kid, and not too many movies I can say, especially with you guys, because you guys were able to watch so much more than I could have as a kid. So the fact that this is one that we all saw, I don't know, I guess nostalgia and just the fact that, I don't know, Arnold was, he was really good in this. He went through a lot, and even when he couldn't cry, you could still tell that he was mourning, and the fact that he got to do what a lot of people couldn't do. He got to kill the person that took out his people, his entire village, so that's relatable. So that is almost like cool. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Real quick too, in the chat, we've got people on both sides of the fence here. D going with Destroyer, Paula, Barbarian, Dan Barbarian, Lee saying like Barbarian, love Destroyer more, rewatchable. All right. Glades Creature in the chat. Welcome to the chat. Welcome. We have some folks that have just joined in. Again, if you haven't hit the like button, please do. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. And Val also put the link in. If you'd like to become a channel member, hit the join button next to the subscribe button. It really helps us to continue to do more streams like this. Glades Creature saying Conan the Barbarian is the better one. Destroyer is fun, only it doesn't match up. Okay. All right. Well, welcome to the chat. Good to have you here and hope you join us again. But now we have to tally up the points. We have to see who the winner is. And, you know, a lot of times these can be very, very interesting. Okay. So at one point, this was tied. I just want to say that this was tied at one point. I'm not going to tell you guys when. But as we continued to go, we come with a final score of, by panel vote, 40-29, and we also include our super chat, which gave points. So the winner is Conan the Barbarian, and Crom is pleased.
That's awesome.
There we go, guys. So a final score, full tally, 45-29. It was actually closer than I thought it was going to be. Watching these two films, I just want to throw this out here because we have to get going. Watching these two films, these are both great films.
Oh, yeah.
And we had talked about a different matchup, which I don't think would have been as good of a matchup. This was the only matchup I think that got close enough, you know, with these types of films. So that is what we've got. That is what we got. Glades Creature saying Barbarian has the better villain, better partners, more realistic. Okay. All right. Ty Lord's in the chat saying, yay, Barbarian. Okay. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate it. Again, for you guys in the chat, if you haven't, please hit the like button. Also, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. You guys had a lot of comments. We couldn't get to everyone here today. Ty Lord saying you got to love the sidekicks in Destroyer, though. Yeah, I mean, I think Destroyer had a bigger band of, you know, a crew, and it was really, really cool stuff to see. I really love Conan the Destroyer. I don't think it's the credit it should get, but that's neither here nor there. But today, the winner is Conan the Barbarian, which is a fantastic movie, one of my favorites of all time. And you're right, Sarah Douglas is awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You know, there's anyways, we appreciate you guys being with us here tonight. And next week we'll come up with something else that I think will be a lot of fun. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for next week's Battleworld on Tuesday night at 7:50 start time, Eastern Standard Time. And we will catch you guys later. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace.
Cheers.
Cheers.